He banged the gavel, told the room to be silent, and my 7-year-old stood up anyway. Malik's voice cracked. Maya's ribbons slipped. Micah held up his little paper like a shield, and the judge stared at my kids like he knew them. Tell me if you were me in that moment, a mother on trial in front of strangers. Would you speak, or would you let your children fight for you? I'm Tasha, and this is the truest thing I've ever said out loud. We lived small but honest. A narrow apartment with peeling paint. The kind of heater that sings in winter and dies when you need it most. 3 beds shoved together so my babies could fall asleep to my heartbeat. I worked where the coffee burned and the grease never slept. You ever hold 3 jobs in your head while someone talks to you about attitude and standards? Yeah, that happened. The day I got fired, my kids were in the back booth at the diner crayons, and a quiet promise to behave. School let out early. I had no sitter, and there's a point where a mama chooses a less bad decision because a good one doesn't exist. Mr. Simmons strutted out from behind the counter like the place owed him a parade. Again, Tasha, this ain't no daycare. I said, I know, sir. I'll clean the grease trap twice. I'll stay late. He cut me off, voice lifted so everyone could enjoy my humiliation. You're an embarrassment to this place. The room blinked. Malik climbed onto the vinyl seat, little fists tight. Don't talk to my mom like that. She works harder than you. Maya stood with him chin high. You're just mad nobody loves you. Silence snapped. He pointed at the door. That's it. You're fired. Get out. We walked past the fryers and the stairs, my kids clutching my hands, me clutching my dignity like a thin coat in a cold wind. Up 3 flights of stairs, a notice was taped to our door like a threat with tape. Eviction. 10 days. Neighbors pretended not to watch, but shame has better hearing than people think. Inside, I did what moms do. Beans and rice, a little onion for flavor water set to boil for hot baths if the heat lost its fight. When the plates were washed and the house got too quiet, the weight of everything sat on my chest. I slid to the floor and cried the kind of cry you do with your hands over your mouth so you don't wake anyone. They woke anyway. Malik draped his arm across my shoulders like a thing twice his size. Maya pressed her forehead into my chest. Micah tucked under my arm with his folder of school certificates. Don't cry, Mama, Malik said. We'll fight for you. We're your soldiers. Something in me stood up even though I was still on the floor. Then the landlord arrived like a storm with a key. Mr. Given's belly straining the button's breath that could peel paint voice built to embarrass in hallways. Rent's due, matter of fact past due, you and these 3 got 10 days. Then I'm calling the sheriff, and maybe child services will give them a decent home. He wanted the whole building to hear him. Maya stepped forward, hands balled. Don't you dare talk to our mama like that. He crouched to her height with a smile that didn't have any kindness in it. Little girl, learn some respect. She earns respect, Maya fired back. You just bully people because you're mean. Gasps from the stairs. Malik planted himself between us. We're not leaving. Given spit on the floor, left a wet period on his sentence, and stomped away. The words stayed behind. Sheriff, foster care, 10 days. Mount Zion Baptist has a choir that could pick a locked heart. The next morning I slid into a pew and tried to breathe. The music rose like thunder dipped in honey, but fear is a loud drum. After service, Pastor Daniels rested his big hand on my son's shoulder and told us the church fund was thin, but he'd gather what he could. Please don't let them take us, Malik blurted. No one's taking you if I can help it, the pastor promised, and for a second my lungs remembered their job. Back home, Malik went fishing for a pencil and pulled up a secret. An old envelope yellowed and tucked under a shirt I never wear. The name across the front in my own hand. Anthony. He opened it with a 7-year-old's curiosity, read a sentence that stopped the room. Tasha. I can't be a father right now. My family would never accept this. I'm sorry. I walked in, saw the letter, and my face went ice. Mama, who's Anthony? I didn't answer. I burned the letter in the metal trash can we use for sweepings, watched the words curl in blackened smoke trying to tell a story I refused to hear. That name doesn't matter, I said, too sharp, too quick. It never mattered. Don't go through my things again. He backed away, hurt and hungry for answers. Ms. Carter from Child Services knocked 3 days later, gray suit clipboard tucked like a shield. She walked through our life writing down numbers that can't measure love. Paint-peeling fridge low bills like a stack of ungraded tests. She watched the kids, how they hovered, how they defended, how they fit together like a puzzle only we knew how to solve. Your children are very loyal, she said almost to herself. They're all I have, I answered. We'll review in court, she said softly. Please be prepared. Prepared. For what exactly? The summons arrived in a sealed envelope with a deputy's face behind it. Family court. A custody case. I told the kids court wasn't for children. They nodded. And that night turned the kitchen table into a practice courtroom. Malik stood on a chair banging a plastic spoon like a gavel. Objection. Maya rolled her eyes. You can't just say that you gotta tell a story. Micah held up his little folder like evidence. I wanted to laugh and cry at the same time. They were rehearsing to save me. The courthouse loomed like a giant set piece. Marble floors, ceilings too high for poor people's voices, a smell that said, whisper or get out. We sat front row, me, in my good Sunday dress, the kids in whatever looked most grown on little bodies. The bailiff called all rise, and there he was. Judge Anthony Wright, black robe, gold nameplate. A man I hadn't seen in 7 years, except in the mirror of my children's faces. He looked down, and when his eyes found mine, something broke and rearranged. Recognition hides poorly. The prosecutor moved like someone had ironed him. Your Honor, 3 children in unstable conditions. No steady income, no proper housing, no father in the home. He spoke about my life like a spreadsheet, said numbers, skipped names. He called Givens first. The landlord swaggered to the stand and lied with confidence. Late rent, wild kids digging in trash for food. I could feel heat up my neck, the old shame that tries to climb your face. Maya couldn't hold it. That's a lie. Gasps a reporter's pen, scratching faster. The judge slammed the gavel, told us to be silent, voice not as steady as his robe. Then Malik stood. That's not true. Our mama takes care of us better than anybody. She stays up so we can eat. She helps with homework. She makes us laugh. Micah slid forward with shaking hands and held up a math test, a bright red 100. Mama stayed up with me even when she was tired. That proves she's a good mom. The room tilted. Lawyers stop liking facts when they come from little voices. And the judge stared at my children like he was reading a book he wrote and forgot. His hand trembled on the gavel. He told me to control my family, but his eyes wouldn't leave their faces. Do you think kids should be silent when adults lie about them in public? Do you think that's fair? Recess. Whispers spread through the halls like a rumor that's waited years for a mouth. Don't they look like him? Did you see how he kept staring? I grabbed my kid's hands and moved fast. Mama, why does he look at us like that? Malik asked. Hush, baby, I said, because the truth was a cliff, and we were standing too close to the edge. After lunch, the prosecutor got clever. Your Honor, perhaps the fastest way to end this distraction is a court-ordered paternity test. If a father exists, we can consider his role. The word father slid across the room like glass. I stopped breathing. The judge did too. The court will take that under advisement, he said, voice thin as paper. Pattern interrupt. Then it happened. Maya swayed. Her little body folded, head bumping the bench with a sound that still visits me at night. Chaos. My boys were on their knees. Malik shaking her arm, Micah whispering, "Wake up, wake up." Before anyone else moved, Judge Wright threw the gavel aside and came off that bench like a man with something to prove. He knelt, cradled my daughter's head with hands that had held power for years, and barked for an ambulance. I saw those hands on my child's hair, and my anger rose like heat from a broken oven. "Don't touch her," I said through my teeth. "Don't you dare. You lost the right 7 years ago." He flinched, pain in his face he could not hide, but he didn't let go until the paramedics took her out. Stick around because what happened next will blow your mind. At the hospital, fluorescent lights admit no secrets. Maya dozed, color-returning monitors clicking a slow lullaby. The boys leaned on each other, on me, on hope. The judge came to the doorway, without his robe, smaller somehow. "I had to check on her," he said. "You don't get to say we. I told him you wrote a letter and disappeared. You let us drown while you climbed." He started to say he suffered too. I cut him off. "You chose silence." He left, but not before Malik opened one eye and filed away everything he saw. That night, when the hall got quiet, Malik asked the question like someone testing ice. "Mama, is he our daddy?" I tried to make my face a wall. He looked at me like he looks at puzzles until they tell the truth. I couldn't keep lying. "Yes." The word broke, and then the room felt honest and heavy at the same time. My son's world tilted. Then he straightened his shoulders like a boy who already knows what fight feels like. The next morning outside the courthouse, microphones shoved into our life like we were a show to be consumed. "Judge Wright, are you related to the children? Ms. Johnson, is this true?" Inside clerks watched us like we were a rumor they could finally see. The motion for the DNA test went through. The envelope came back like a sentence. The judge opened it. Probability of paternity: 99.9%. He read his own name next to my children's, and the room split. Reporters ran. A woman sobbed. I sat down because my knees said no. Malik stood like a little storm. "You think we care about your blood? We don't. You weren't there when Mama cried herself to sleep." He recused the next day. Judge Naomi Ellis took the bench with a calm you could lean against. For the record, she said, "Judge Wright has recused. We will finish this case today." The prosecutor tried to make it about money. More resources equals better lives. Remove the scandal. Solve the equation. He smiled like math could raise children. Ms. Carter testified first. "Safe, bonded, loved," she said, careful but clear. "Scarcity, not neglect. I have seen nicer homes with dying spirits. This is not that home." The room breathed. Givens got up there and lied again, so I brought out every maintenance ticket for December, each one stamped by the office when the heat died and no one fixed it. Judge Ellis told him to answer my question. "How many days without heat?" 3. I turned to the judge. I boiled water on the stove, wrapped them in blankets, packed them off to school with their homework done anyway. He calls that neglect. I call it survival. Pastor Daniels spoke, the school counselor brought records. Attendance steady, zero behavior referrals, resilience off the charts. Micah's certificates looked like tiny suns. Final statements. The prosecutor said money equals opportunity, said we weren't punishing me, we were elevating the children. He sat like he'd already won a prize. I stood and looked straight at the bench. I couldn't make a man stay. I couldn't make a boss keep me or a landlord fix a radiator. But I have never, not once, let these children go to sleep unloved. If this court wants to help us live, not leave. Don't tear roots and call it gardening. Judge Ellis softened just at the edges. Children, you have spoken plenty, she said, but if you have one sentence left, I will hear it. Malik squared his collar. We're not giving up our mama. Maya took his hand. Family is who stays. Micah lifted his folder. Please let us go home. Silence, the kind that matters. Then the verdict. Legal custody remains with Ms. Johnson. The state will coordinate stabilization, rental mediation, food support, after-school programs, job placement. As for the biological father, no custody. Any contact must begin with restorative counseling at the mother's discretion and at the father's expense. Case adjudicated. Ms. Johnson, take your babies home. The room broke like a wave. 6 months later, our keys fit a different door. Second-hand couch, sure, but it didn't sink in the middle. Floors that didn't complain. A calendar on the fridge with more color than bills. My hospital badge rested in a little dish by the sink. I worked days now, so dinner tasted like seasoning, not panic. Malik slid across the entry in socks and said coach made him starting point. Maya taped a flyer to the fridge. Youth concert, she had a solo. Micah brought a letter with a gold seal, district spelling team, and I spun him around the kitchen until we were both dizzy. A knock softer than it needed to be. I looked through the peephole and saw a man who'd lost a robe and found the truth. Anthony. He had resigned before the panel could eat him alive. People said he sat in the last pew at Mount Zion twice, left before the benediction both times. I opened the door a careful inch. What do you want? Only to give you this, he said, and held out a plain envelope and a cashier's check. No strings. College funds, 3 accounts started. Guilt paid for the first deposit, responsibility will pay for the rest. I'm in counseling. The kind the court ordered. I'm not here to ask for anything. I'm here to agree. Agree what? That love isn't something you can arrive late to and still expect a seat. From the couch, Malik called Mama, who is it? Finish your reading, baby. Anthony tucked a second paper beneath the envelope. A letter for when I decide. You kept them safe, he said, and I didn't deserve that kindness. It wasn't for you, I told him. I know, he said, and left like a man who finally met his own shadow. Saturday brought soft rain and a church full of neighbors. 3 front-row seats with neat name cards. Malik, Maya, Micah. The choir swayed. Maya stepped forward with a microphone too big for her hand and a poem too big for the walls. Mama, don't break. Even when the door won't open. Even when the night leans hard. Mama, don't break, she bend and hold and grow us tall. People stood before she finished. I cried like a person who finally exhaled after years of holding it in. In the last pew, a man slipped in late and left early. He didn't ask for anything. He just listened. Here's what I know now. Blood can name you. That's biology paper signatures. Love will raise you. That's meals when the lights go out. Heat hacked from a stove, homework, checked with tired eyes. Truth told when truth hurts, boundaries drawn, when a door knocks with regret. Sometimes love chooses to forgive slowly. Sometimes love chooses to protect first and decide later. Both can be true, so I'll ask you, did the court get it right, or should a biological parent with money always get another chance because resources matter? What does accountability look like? A check, a counseling receipt, a seat in the last pew, or something else entirely? If it were you, what would you have done when the landlord tried to shame your family in a hallway? Do you think that's fair? The way we talk about best interest, like it comes with marble floors and a security gate. You know what I mean? I won't pretend everything is neat now. There's an envelope on the highest shelf with a letter my children haven't read. There are deposits I double-check, making sure the word strings stays out of our mailbox. There's a man who sometimes sits where he can't be seen and listens to his daughter define strength. And there's a home that smells like dinner and pencil shavings and shampoo, where 3 kids still fall asleep to my heartbeat, and a mama watches them grow tall. That's enough for tonight. If this story hit you somewhere tender or somewhere angry, talk to me in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from, what you would have done, whether you think love should count in court as much as bank accounts. Share this with someone who needs a little hope or a little fight. And if you want more real stories from people who don't have a safety net but still find a way, hit subscribe, stick around, and keep your voice ready. The next chapter starts when you press play.